Hello and hi there, and welcome back to another episode of Empowering Empathy. This is the show, hi everybody, where we talk about the power of compassion, personal growth, and professional success. As always, we have Mr. Brian Marcum over here.
Hello, everybody.
The expert on all things Brian. We also have a very special guest, Mr. Heinrich Stander, and he is an author, speaker, trainer, and coach. And he's with a company called Rocket Fueled Futures, and we're so very happy and glad to have him. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming, buddy. I appreciate it. Michael Heinrich and I were having a conversation. We've known each other now for several years. Yeah. I was trying to think.
Yeah, it's got to be
pre-COVID.
Geez, yeah,
10
years.
Yeah, it's been quite a while. Previous client, and now has bounced out into his own practice. But we were having a conversation last week, and a light bulb just went off. I was like, you know what? This is a good topic to talk on our podcast.
Yeah, nothing like
Yes.
a 3-day warning. Like, hey, you're going to be in my podcast 3 days later.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, it was a first watch light bulb moment. So anyhow, the conversation is, we started talking about IT departments, IT organizations. Obviously, it's every organization in the world, but IT specifically, how limiting the soft skills and the functional skill sets that are missing into the individuals that are in a vast majority of IT departments. And you basically decided to go start a practice because of that gap, correct?
Yeah. I
So
did.
tell us a little bit about the genesis of that and yourself and a little background on Heinrich.
Yeah. So I have probably 30, 35 years in highly technical environments like IT and engineering. And so when I say things about IT people, I include myself because I come from that environment. And, if you know IT people, we're not known for our people skills. The joke I always tell is, how do you know an extroverted IT guy? Right?
How's that?
When he's talking to you, he's the one looking at your shoes versus his own. That's an extrovert. But yeah, so been in technical environments for a long time, and then right before COVID, I said, what would be a great idea is quit my high-paying corporate job and start a business. Doing this, helping highly technical individuals like IT and engineering with the people side of it, because there is such a need there. There's such a gap there.
Until the world shut down.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it was
Great time to start a business.
Hindsight, bad timing, but yeah.
But you managed pretty well. I mean, 22, 20, 21, 22, were good years as far as growth and development. And so does like the non-technical side of IT actually matter? I mean, I know a lot of managers and executives say, I just want these 4 skill sets and I want them to know it at the architect level. I don't give a crap if they are introverted or extroverted. Is it super important?
Yeah. So, and I know that is the statistic. I think LinkedIn did a study where they said, I think 60% of IT, leaders value the soft skills above the technical skills. But if you look at some of the other research, Harvard, Stanford, Carnegie, even McKinsey, they all have research that shows up to 85% of career success, individual success, as well as project success relates to the non-technical side.
Yeah.
Right. But yet, when you look at how we spend our resources, our money, our training, it's like all technical, right?
Yeah.
Very few companies invest in the softer side. I hate that term.
I do too.
But the non-technical, right? The interpersonal skills, emotional intelligence also, although that's another word that's become cliche.
Exactly.
But yeah, so while the research says, far more than 50% of your success depends on that, we have the opposite inversion of how we spend our training and where we focus our time on making sure that IT is delivering successfully.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. There's a huge inversion. I can just call it the inversion of what we pay attention to and what we train on.
Sure. So as far as that skill set, as far as those, since they are soft, and I hate that word too. How do you measure that in a set of specifics like every IT analytical person wants? How do you measure those skill sets?
Yeah, and I think that is one of the challenges that why some of the leaders kind of don't pay much attention to it. They're like, I don't even think this is something that can be measured, right? This is something that is not quantifiable. It's touchy-feely, fluffy stuff that really doesn't matter. But I've done a lot of research, and there are really good tools. I'm an assessment guy. I love assessments.
Sure.
I use something called the Insight that measures 22 different personality traits and 4 aptitude traits. And that one's not specific to emotional intelligence. There's one called the BlueEQ assessment that I found that we use extensively, and it actually measures 25 different emotional intelligence skill sets across 5 categories, right? So self-regard, self-awareness, self-control, social awareness, and social influence.
Yeah.
So, and then it breaks those down, and it'll give you in depth, in detail, what does it look like when it's done well? What does it look like when it's done poorly? How can you improve that specific skill? It's based in data and science, and it's verified, accurate. So
I think the main reason why a lot of, and I think for this conversation, I really want to direct to our IT hiring managers. We really want to help you figure out ways to assess this, how to measure it, how to improve it, and so forth. But I think that a lot of people don't know how to measure it because there are so many different type of assessment tools out there. And some of them are not so good. Some of them are fluff, But at the end of the day, I'm a huge fan of it. It's scary how well it analyzes me. Part of that, maybe that's part of the reason why people don't like them, is because it puts a label on you. Well, it doesn't, but it does. It gives you categories of it,
I mean, it's a data point or multiple data points if you get the right one, right?
Right.
And you're right. There are certain assessments that I call recreational. They're fun. Like, what type of animal are you? That kind of stuff. But then there are ones that are, that have been validated, that are anti-bias, that are. I mean, you got to research the assessment as well as you do the results.
I think that's the part where people miss it a lot of times. We had a friend of mine on one of these podcasts, Jim Diebold. He runs a business coaching group, but it's not the test as much as it is the hour with him afterwards, just diving deep into this thing. Yeah. And then if you have a team, build out and have a team meeting where you're like, you say this person approaches this situation like this, like this, like this. And so, okay, so we know how to measure it. We can figure it out. We know what it is, but then how do you improve it? Like, how do you isn't it either you got it or you don't?
Nature or nurture, right? That debate. Yeah, I mean, it is, I think you hit right on it. If you're just, measuring it and you actually don't take the time afterwards to say, now, what does that mean? How do I interpret this? How do I, actually turn this into actionable change? Because that's really all this is about. It's about how do you change human behavior, right? How do we grow? How do we develop as humans in these skills? So, and again, working with a coach, in first of all, assessing, first thing when I do work with people is I assess how open-minded they are, right?
Yeah.
In my book, that's the very first chapter is receptiveness. Because if you're not receptive and open-minded, it's very hard to change.
Yeah.
So that's step number one. Step number two.
And you have to create I hate to say it, a safe space to be able to allow that absorption of correction, if you will.
Yeah. It's about how do you receive feedback, how you respond to feedback. Do you have a fixed mindset or a flexible mindset? And once you get that assessment and people are open to it, because that's the first requirement, then you can start digging into some of the more actionable. So then you can start doing things like 360s, where you're like, okay, this is how you think you're perceived when you're working with other people, but this is how you really come across.
Oh, it's
right?
it's amazing. How many blind spots I have? Everybody has blind spots, right?
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it, is by asking other people to tell you how you really come across, then you see those blind spots.
Yeah.
And you don't get people who, these highly technical jerks, right? That's what we get, is they brilliant, but they leave a trail of dead bodies in their wake, as they're working across the organization. And people only want to work with them once, and then they're like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Right?
I think those individuals are good for about 2 weeks, and then if you're at a stuck point of project, you can hire someone like that for a week or two, and then see you later. You're too much toxic for my team.
Well, and you said the word toxic, right? That's another statistic I heard, I think, from Harvard Business School, that said one toxic individual will negate the impact of 2.5 of your superstars. Not your average folks, your superstars, right? So it's like firing your top 3 people from your organization if you tolerate a toxic individual.
We experience that so much in this industry, in the IT consulting and staffing business. A number one mistake that a lot of managers will do, including us, will keep a high-producing toxic person.
Yeah.
It's so hard to let that person go because they're making the bottom line look so good, theoretically.
Yeah, in the short term.
And then eventually when you do let them go, or they end up going on their own, you see the wake that was behind them and the ripples in front of them that person in your organization did.
It's brutal.
It is absolutely brutal. And to your point, you said, what was that statistic again?
Yeah, so one toxic individual will negate the impact of 2.5 of your superstars.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary.
Yeah.
And we do that all the time. We're too afraid to get rid of them because, like you say, they produce short-term results.
Yeah.
But the long-term cultural impact is
enormous.
Is enormous. That's a good word.
Yeah, I've seen it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it's something that is so impactful, why do you think so many IT leaders and CIOs in general ignore those data points, the human element, if you will?
Great question.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I think there's a couple of things. One, they don't see the value, right? I mean, we've talked about that. It's touchy-feely, fluffy stuff that really doesn't mean anything to the bottom line. So one, they don't see the value. Two, they don't have the skill to address it, right?
They're the one with the issue.
Yeah. It's like, I'm highly technical. It's kind of you're in your own echo chamber, right? So because the human side of humans just we just different things that make us tick than typing a keyboard. So highly technical managers, they don't know how to deal with this. And then thirdly, they don't have the time, right? It's just, I am in crisis mode. I am working on a bunch of urgent things, and these important things, just don't make it on my radar, right? And then lastly, I think we're just deathly afraid of it. Some managers would rather have a root canal than talk about feelings and emotions I don't want to deal with that. And so those 4 things really is, I think, why we avoid it.
Those are great points. It is because we experience that with our clients, and I get it. Crisis mode is pretty close to a good description, but they have deadlines that all they care about. They can't build anybody. They have to buy everybody.
Yeah.
They don't want to build their organization. They want to buy their organization. So, there are skill sets out there, even technical skill sets that are so flippin' hard to find that the only ones that are available are the non-soft skilled, trained, functional person.
Yeah.
And so they have to go hire those people. If they took the time to build, the technical and the soft skills into the individual, and then that person's a well-rounded individual, and that's one reason. I think the other one is, you kind of said it, but you did say it, but there's a lot of IT managers that are dysfunctional human beings. I wouldn't say dysfunctional. I'm saying that they are. When I say dysfunctional, it's a joke in IT. There's a functional position and a technical position. But does that mean the technical position is dysfunctional? No, it's not. No, it is an individual that has a much bigger brain than I possibly could imagine.
Yeah.
And they just need. What was your joke again?
Yeah. If you have a grocery store that has a health food section, what does that make the rest of the store?
No, I was thinking about the ones of how can you tell the extroverted IT guy?
Oh, yes.
Because they're not staring at their own shoes; they're staring at your shoes.
Exactly. Yeah, that one, yeah.
That's a good one.
Yes.
But just a quick point is, organizations are starting to recognize this.
Yes.
In the hiring, a lot of the training organizations that I talk to, companies are starting to ask about non-technical skills. Like, hey, is this person a well-rounded individual? Am I getting a technical mercenary who's going to come in here and just destroy the culture? Or am I getting a well-rounded individual that I can have for the long term, and that's going to build my culture, not just short-term results?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's it's absolutely critical. Even on the consulting side, I was sitting here talking to you, and we kind of talked about this at lunch the other day. Think about a differentiator of a consulting company if they took the time with their consultants and developed those soft skills, those functional skills. Yeah. And so it's got my brain churning pretty heavily since we talked. But so how do you, when you talk to executives or IT hiring managers, how do you convince them? Well, let's say I'm an IT mid-level manager. I'm at your old site. I'm an application manager on the digital side of things, and there's a director above me that's just shoving work down my throat. Give me the tools to go talk to my executive to convince them that my people need this training and don't need just technical skill sets. Give me the pitch there.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of, again, like we talked about, it's the short term versus the long term, right? It is like, and I did the research myself. The statistics about 85% of your success is as a result of soft skills or non-technical skills. I actually tracked for a year everybody that I had challenges with, or I had to let go, or whatever the reason. And I also, enlisted my peers and said, hey, of the people that you struggled with, how many that you have to let go and what was the reason? And that statistic is dead on. More than 80% of them. And so when you're looking at turnover, right? You're going to have turnover. You're going to lose your IP. You're going to, the ramp up of bringing in a new person. It's all of the justification of not having that kind of turnover, and let alone the culture that you're building, if you even care about the culture, right?
Sure.
Because honestly, let's be frank. There are organizations who don't care. They only care about the results, and they don't really care about the culture. So if you're building a culture, you need to think about these things.
That's right.
Or else it's just going to be a body shop.
And they're going to go somewhere else that has the culture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's about retention, and it's about results, really, is the bottom line.
Yeah. And that is a real number, a real number.
Yeah.
Big one.
You can assign hard dollars and cents to that.
Yep. Well, Heinrich, thank you very much, buddy. I appreciate it. Just to give you a quick shameless plug here, Rocket Fuel, tell us what you do there.
Yeah, so I do exactly this, right? I work with executives and senior IT leaders in developing the human side of IT, developing individual interpersonal skills, right? So I have a brilliant security architect, but they struggle with that. or team cohesion, right? So the things that makes teams function as a team and not just a group of individuals. OCM, organizational change management,
Yep.
because when we implement technology without psychology, we have, delusion.
I'm absolutely stealing that phrase, by the way.
Yeah. Technology without psychology is futility, to be honest.
There you go.
And then the last one is leadership, because what we do is we take our most technical person, brilliant technologist, and we make him a manager, and then they bomb out spectacularly because those skills are not transferable, right? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
You do get the occasional purple unicorns, right?
Right.
Who's good at both skills, but not necessarily. So that's what I do is I work on those things. So ultimately to ensure the IT organization becomes successful on the people side as well as the technology side.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian.
There you go, Mr. Walker.
Yes. Unmute myself there. Yes, thank you once again for joining us. As a reminder, everyone, we're on here once a week, roughly, unless Brian's out traveling the globe, So tune in next time, and we appreciate you joining us.
Yeah.
We're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X,
Smash
whatever
that
they call
button.
that platform these days. Yes. Smash the like button. Give us some comments. Let us know you're out there. Let us know your experience on the topic. And this has been Empowering Empathy. This is the show where we talk about the power of compassion, personal growth, and professional success. And we are getting out of here, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.
See you later.
Have a good one.